anxiously searching for a way to escape the dangerous building, but couldn't find a safe place to land. To make things worse, the sadistic group tormenting him had caught up. The man was cornered, staring at the dizzying height below, feeling a deep sense of despair. Claudio offered him a deal. If he revealed his companion's whereabouts, he'd let him go. The man stayed silent, knowing that if he gave away the information to this psychopath, his companion wouldn't stand a chance. It'd be better to fall than to help him. Suddenly, it seemed like he saw something, and Claudio followed his gaze. Seizing the opportunity, the man jumped off the rooftop, quickly running toward the other side, his pursuers ready to chase, but Claudio stopped them. The three of them watched as the man climbed the stairs, quickly reaching the rooftop. There, he found a steel cable that could take him to the opposite building. It seemed like he finally had a chance to escape. Just as the man was about to make his getaway, Claudio remained completely calm, even smiling with a hint of mockery. The man didn't hesitate. After attaching the pulley, he jumped, sliding toward freedom, right in front of Claudio's eyes. Just as he was about to make his escape, Claudio swiftly pulled out pliers and cut the cable. The man's heart sank. Watching the man fall, his body turning into a bloody mess, Claudio grinned with a sadistic smile. It was almost too perfect. And as luck would have it, this twisted individual was exactly who Maki had been searching for, Claudio, the Croatian. Meanwhile, Maki and Negan, trying to avoid zombies, stumbled into a strange room where an old mysterious woman extinguished their light. But it didn't end there. As they climbed up a stairwell hundreds of meters high, just when they thought they were close, they saw the old woman leap off a high building, leaving them both in stunned silence. They rushed to the window, only to sigh in relief as they saw her land safely. Turns out she was a pro at this. Unexpectedly, the old woman didn't leave right away, but threw them a pulley, gesturing for them to follow. With a nervous glance at the dizzying drop, Maki hesitated, but told Negan to go first. Soon, Negan reached the other side safely, and Maki, realizing he had no choice, climbed out of the window. He grabbed the pulley and took a deep breath, but since it was his first time, he didn't push hard enough, which caused him to stop just a few meters from the other side. Awkward. Looking down at the terrifying drop, Maki panicked. If he fell, he was done for. He struggled, shaking himself hard, and finally made it to the roof just in time, feeling relieved. The two quickly caught up with the old woman in the building, where she was rummaging through Maki's backpack. He snatched it back, annoyed, but the woman took a bag from him anyway. However, she didn't just take it. She exchanged it for something from her own stash, which Negan examined to find pigeon meat. He tasted it, and to his surprise, it was delicious. This old woman didn't seem so bad after all. Curious, Negan asked if she could help them find the smoking building, as Maki's son might be there. The woman hesitated, warning them that it was far too dangerous, and she couldn't take them there. Maki was disappointed, but Negan suggested they follow her for now, hoping they could find another way. The old woman agreed, deciding to take them to her base. However, just as they descended the stairs, a group of strangers appeared and trapped them, holding discarded guns. Clearly, they weren't amateurs. Maki and Negan had no choice but to lower their weapons, assuring the strangers they meant no harm. The old woman spoke up on their behalf, but the strangers weren't listening. The three of them argued heatedly, and from their conversation, Maki realized they weren't Croatian, which relieved him. They finally calmed down, and the bald man asked about their origins. Not knowing if they were enemies or allies, Maki lied, saying they were heading to Canada, but a storm had stranded them, and they had come to the city for supplies. He thought he'd gotten away with it, but the woman saw through his lie instantly. She ordered the bald man to seize their belongings, and they were taken to a base. Maki scanned the area and noticed dozens of people, likely a group of survivors. They were soon locked in a bathroom, and Maki grew anxious, realizing that every minute wasted meant more danger for his son. He complained to Negan about his bad idea, and also about not revealing the Croatian's information. After a pause, Negan confessed that the Croatian was named Claudio. They had once worked together, but over time, Negan realized Claudio had no boundaries. He was willing to hurt even children. Unable to tolerate this, Negan tried to take him down, but only managed to damage his left ear. Now, they were enemies. Maki paused, wondering if handing Negan over to Claudio would get his son back. Before he could decide, they heard a commotion outside. The door flung open, and the bald man shoved them out. Maki was shocked to see the survivors packing up, as something big seemed to be happening. The bald man glared at them. These two just arrived, and now the enemies are here. Negan quickly tried to explain, but the bald man wasn't having it. Out of frustration, Negan grabbed him, holding his neck in a way that could end it with the slightest pressure. But instead of doing so, he let go, explaining they meant no harm and wanted to help. The bald man and the woman were still unsure, but just then, the sound of approaching cars confirmed the enemies were near. The woman decided to trust them, handing them back their weapons and supplies. But just as they prepared to leave, a group of helmeted strangers stormed into the building. All of them were Claudio's thugs, ruthless hunters who regularly preyed on survivors. To avoid trouble, Maki and Negan hid, but unfortunately, one of the thugs stopped right outside the door, seemingly sensing something was off. As he hesitated, a call for backup came, and Hearing the call for backup, the thug rushed away, leaving Maki and Negan crouched in silence. The tension in the room was palpable, as the bald man whispered urgently, "Claudio is here." Maki's heart sank. He had heard the name before, but wasn't prepared for what it truly meant. Negan clenched his fists, muttering, "This guy doesn't let anyone live." The group knew they had to move fast, but escaping unnoticed seemed impossible. The woman gestured toward a hidden passage behind a pile of crates. "It's a service tunnel," she whispered. "It leads outside." Maki and Negan hesitated but knew they had no choice. As they moved quietly toward the passage, the sound of boots echoed closer, followed by Claudio's chilling voice calling out, "Come out wherever you are." His tone was casual, almost playful, but it sent a shiver down their spines. Maki peeked through a crack in the door and saw Claudio, a tall man with an unsettling grin and a noticeable scar where his left ear used to be. The group began slipping into the tunnel one by one, with Maki and Negan covering the rear. Just as Negan was about to follow, the door burst open, and Claudio's men stormed in. "They're here!" one of them shouted. Negan shoved Maki into the tunnel before slamming the door shut. "Go! I'll hold them off!" Maki yelled. "Are you insane? You won't survive!" But Negan just smirked. "I've faced worse." Before Maki could argue, the woman pulled him further into the tunnel. Negan turned to face Claudio's thugs, pulling out a makeshift weapon, a rusty pipe. "Let's dance!" he growled. The thugs lunged at him, but Negan's ferocity gave him the upper hand. He took down two of them in quick succession before Claudio himself appeared, slow clapping as if amused. "Negan," Claudio said with a smirk, "still playing the hero, I see." Negan tightened his grip on the pipe, glaring at him. "And you're still the same psychopath." Claudio laughed. "You know I've missed our little chats, but you're not leaving here alive." Meanwhile, in the tunnel, Maki and the group reached a small exit covered by debris. The woman and the bald man worked quickly to clear it, but Maki kept looking back anxiously. "We can't just leave him," he insisted. The woman shook her head. "If you go back, you'll die." He made his choice. "Focus on finding your son." The words stung, but Maki knew she was right. With the exit cleared, they climbed out into the night, but they weren't safe yet. Back in the building, Negan and Claudio were locked in a brutal fight. Claudio moved with precision, his sadistic smile never fading as he dodged Negan's strikes. "You've gotten slower, old friend," Claudio taunted, landing a punch that sent Negan sprawling. But Negan wasn't done. He grabbed a shard of glass from the floor and lunged, catching Claudio off guard. The blade slashed across Claudio's arm, making him stagger back. "Not bad," Claudio muttered, his grin replaced by a snarl. He pulled out a knife, advancing toward Negan with deadly intent. Outside, Maki and the others could hear the chaos inside the building. Gunshots echoed through the air, followed by a chilling scream. Maki's stomach churned. He wanted to go back, but knew it would be suicide. The bald man placed a hand on his shoulder. "If we don't move now, we're next." Reluctantly, Maki nodded, and they slipped into the shadows, heading toward the old woman's base. The camera pans back to the building, where Claudio steps out, blood dripping from his arm but his grin wider than ever. "Find the others," he ordered his men, "and bring me Negan's head." The screen fades to black as Maki's voice echoes.